Welcome to the Sensitive Biker podcast. Many people know about PTSD or heard about it, post-traumatic stress disorder. We're going to talk about something similar today, something called Complex PTSD, which is a little different but still similar. I'm going to read from some official page about what complex PTSD is and the symptoms, and afterwards I'm going to talk a little about how it infected my life and my childhood. So complex post-traumatic stress disorder and complex PTSD may be diagnosed in adult or childhood who have experienced traumatic events. Those could be violence, negligence, or abuse. Complex PTSD can be more severe if the traumatic events happen early in life, the trauma was caused by a parent or caregiver, the person experienced the trauma for a long time, the person was alone during the trauma, there's still contact with the person responsible for the trauma. And it also says it may take years for the symptoms of complex PTSD to get better. Because of this, children developments can be effective as they get older. For me, complex PTSD happened in my childhood because I grew up with, as some of you might know, with alcoholic father, which sold weapons to skinheads and bikers when I was a child. When I was 12 years old, we were shooting beer cans in the garden for fun. That's not usual behavior where I come from here in Denmark. Maybe it is where you come from. I don't know, not judging. But he was also, because of his childhood and because of his drinking, he was very violent towards me, my mother, and my brother at that time. I later got a sister, but my mother and father got divorced when she was just a baby, so she don't remember anything from that period of her life. But for me, being the oldest child, that was a little hard, and dealing with it's like a soldier. It's hard enough being a soldier as an adult. You can go home. You can been sent home. You can get help. But for me, as a child, I was in the war zone all the time. I couldn't go anywhere. I was with my parents. So I have to live with this stress and fear of violence on a daily basis. And as a small kid, that was not very good for my overall health situation. And there were some other things I read somewhere about symptoms. And some of these symptoms I got early on, but we can go through them, and maybe I can add some of my own, because people are different and people react differently to different traumas. So of course they don't have all of them, but symptoms of PTSD, it says here, on complex PTSD, feelings of shame or guilt, difficulty controlling your emotions, periods of losing attention and concentrations. This is known as disillusion. physical symptoms such as headaches, dizziness, chest pains, and stomach aches. I have all of these symptoms still. Uh, Cutting yourself off from friends and family. I done that also because of the way my family are, and the way that I wanted to live my life as I got older and start dealing with my issues. I had to leave my family. I couldn't stay there, and if I did, I would just keep on being sick and getting more sick. It's like an alcoholic. If you want to stop drinking, you can't sit at the bar 8 hours a day. It doesn't work like that. You have to move your butt and get somewhere else where people can help you, and where people maybe understand you, are on your same level, or want to go and have the same goals as you do. That was what I did also when I was drinking. I cut off all my friends that was drinking and doing drugs, and surrounded myself with other people that wanted to be clean and sober, and actually have a better life. Because of that, it was a lot easier for me to get away from all the old things, because I've surrounded myself with people that wanted the same things as me, had the same goals, the same problems. So it was good for me to go to 12-step meetings and listen to other people talk about their fears, their feelings, and their everyday life problems, as a person that's don't want to be in that sort of environment with those issues anymore. So that was very helpful in my environment, and I think there's other ways, of course, but for me, the 12-step program, that's number one. Relationship difficulties. Yeah, I have trust issues still. It's very hard for me to trust other people. When I was 16, I hang out with some bikers that was a lot older than me, adult people, and we did some not so good things. I was kind of like hanging out and watching out for police and other people when they were breaking into places, and getting payment for drugs and stuff like that, when they were beating people up for not paying. So that was a little traumatic for me as well, but in a sick kind of way, I felt at home there, because the rules were similar as with my family where I grew up. There was this overlining, what do you say, overlining possibility of violence all the time, and I had to be careful. I had to watch out what I was saying, what other people were doing and saying, and how they said it, their reactions, their emotions, everything. Just like at home, I had to be careful and watch out for my father. What mood was he in today? Could I talk to him? Should I get out of his way? It was very stressful, and but because of that, being in this environment with drugs, alcohol from an early age, and uh, it felt safe in a kind of way, because I knew the rules. So I knew deep down, I knew it wasn't good for me, but I felt safe, and that was more important for me to feel safe than actually feel well. But back to relationship difficulties. The thing I would say about it was that when I was 16, three of these guys I was hanging out with, adult men, they tortured me for a couple hours in a barn and left me in a pool of my own blood because they thought that I had talked to the police because some other friends of ours got picked up by the police for something they did years ago. And some of them meant that I was the one that talked to the police. Later, they found out that the guy that did talk to the police was one of the guys that was beat me up real bad. So, but there was never any apologies coming that way. But three adult men that I thought was my friends, that I looked up to, they treated me this way, and that kind of broke me in a way, because I never trusted anyone again, and I still don't. So for me, that's a big issue, something I'm working on. Being an international president of a motorcycle club for former addicts and former gang members doesn't make it easier, because not everybody is prepared for the real world, and they don't always know the rules. Of course, in our club, they get more second chances than they would get other places, because we know how it is. We've been there. But it doesn't really fix my trust issues, because people disappoint, man. That's just the way it is. And I think that also I have a high standard for myself, and for that reason, I have high standard for others, and not all people, not many people can live up to those standards. So I'm my own worst critic, and sometimes I can feel that I have to let up a little on that point and just accept that people are different. But it's hard. Because of the trust issues, it's hard for me to let up and let people in, and if I do and they fuck up, it's easy for me to let go. So many of my friend relationships, I don't get really that close, because I don't have that trust. And I don't know if I would ever get it back, if I would ever get that trust back that I had as a small kid, or maybe even a baby. It was so long ago I don't even remember, because I've been let down so many times. So I don't know. It's something I'm still working on, and some of the hardest things I ever had to work on, I think, with all these problems I had and issues that just keep on coming up still so many years after. But that was relationship difficulties, destructive or risky behavior, such as self-harm, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, suicidal tendencies. I actually tried to take my life several times. One time I was drunk. I had a sawed-off shotgun, and I couldn't find any bullets, so I put one in, but it was an old shotgun, so there was two triggers, and I took the wrong one, so it just clicked, and in my uh, alcohol fever or what you want to call it. I luckily didn't press the second trigger. But yeah, that was a hard one, and sometimes I feel that at what's the point, what's the point in going on? But I always find something. But back then, when I was still drinking, I couldn't really see any benefits in going on. I think back then I used to say that life is just one big shit you're gonna take a bite off every day, and I didn't really want to go on that way. But after meeting the 12 steps, I saw that there was actually a way for me to get better, way to me to not just get rid of my old life, but here was actually something that I could do to get better, to get a different result and a different life, and that was very important for me. But I had harmed myself many times, of course, with alcohols. I never really did drugs. I did some pills or something, but very early on, when I was very young, I had 3 guys that wanted to see how it would be with drugs in a needle. So they tried it in one of the kids' home, a weekend where their parents wasn't at home, and 2 of them died in their apartment, and the third one, he died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. So for me, that was kind of a wake-up call for me, that maybe I should just stick to alcohol and not try anything worse. Of course, I tried smoking cannabis. It's very common in Denmark, unfortunately. Many people do it, and they don't think it's any big deal, but at the psychiatric ward, 80% is because of cannabis complications. So it can affect your brain very much in a bad way, and you don't know if it affects you before you try it. So there's no way of knowing, and that's one kind of Russian roulette that I didn't want to do. I did 3 times actually, but I didn't know about the side effects at that point because everybody was doing it about when I was around me, my friends and family even, but it never affected me. I don't know why, but that's just something in my body that does that. It doesn't work on me at all. It's like I had some operation where they used morphine on me, and I could feel everything. They had to give me other drugs to take the pain. It was kind of scary, but morphine doesn't work on me anyway, so I don't know how that is, but it's just how I work. So I never got addicted to hash or any other drugs, only alcohol. And then of course I had other addictions. When I stopped drinking, I just started with sugar addiction, porn, more violent behavior, gang fights on the street and stuff like that. Everything that would give me a buzz. So yeah, Pretty serious stuff. I'm lucky to be alive, actually. Um, and I'm glad I can do this to help other people today. Because my mother, when she was alive, she used to say to me, Thomas, why does everybody has to know what you've been through? And I just had to tell her that if I can use my childhood and my trauma positive to help other people, I can't live with the things I've been through. It's just too much. So this is my way of making sense of all the bad things I've been through by using it in a positive way. It also says here with complex PTSD, um, actually adding symptoms from PTSD to complex PTSD, they added symptoms by adding what does it say? Self-harm, pessimistic behavior, negative mood, irritation, aggression, and impulse or self-destructive behavior. So that's the difference between PTSD and complex PTSD. That's at least what it says here. That is not my personal experience. I know people that only has PTSD, and they can be very self-destructive and negative, and self-blaming. So I don't agree with that, but that's what it says on the big wide web. Other symptoms of complex PTSD can be flashbacks. I had flashbacks when I was drinking. Especially I had dreams where it felt very real. And one time I had a girlfriend back then that tried to wake me up from a nightmare, and I almost choked her to death. So that relationship didn't last long. But it was kind of traumatic for her, of course, and I felt very bad. And the trust was kind of broken after that. But it was just like you see in the movies. I thought she was a different person. I didn't. I thought she was a person that wanted to kill me. So I almost choked the life out of her. And by the end, her voice changed from a man to my then girlfriend, and that was scary as hell. But of course, I let go, and she ran out of the room crying. That was yeah. I still feel bad about it, but yeah, done is done. But I still feel really bad. That wasn't supposed to happen, and she didn't deserve it that way. But yeah, that's the disease. Also, memory loss. Memory loss, it says here, that's a big thing for me. Sometimes I even forget the names of my children, the name of my girlfriend. You don't get very popular when you introduce your new girlfriends for your friends, and you can't remember her name. That doesn't work. But it happened to me several times, actually. I forget birthdays. I forget dates, names. I forget what things are called. I can forget what this is, what it's called. I know what it's used for, but don't remember it's called glasses. Sometimes I don't even know how to ask for a cup of coffee because I don't remember what it's called. So I have to tell my friends or girlfriends or whatever, I like a cup of the black stuff you drink in the morning, and then of course they know what I mean, but it's very frustrating not being able to remember daily things, things you use, things you always known what's called, and things just disappear like a folder in your brain that just is missing or something. It's hard to explain, but it's very frustrating when it happens. And of course it happens when I'm mostly stressed, when I haven't slept as good as I used to, or I had too many appointments one day, or there's some other stressful things that are going on in my life. So that's a big issue as well. Distorted sense of self. I yeah, I uh, I had a lot of problems with my self-worth and my sense of self. If I felt I was an evil man at one point, uh, and my father always used to tell me when I was a child that you are nothing, you can never amount to anything, you're useless. And when you hear a lie too many times, you start believing it, and that became my truth. I thought I was useless and I would never amount to anything, so why even try? Um, that's tough, but I guess the way I dealt with it was just by giving up, saying, "Okay, fuck it, I'll do what I want. I just because it doesn't matter anyway." Uh, Unexplained upset stomach. Yeah, that's a hard one also. I had problems with my stomach most of my life. It's only 5 years ago that I actually uh, could go to the toilet in a proper way. Um, all my youth and childhood, it was just like water coming out. So yeah, I had many problems. I had um, pain, stomach pains, stomach aches, acid reflux. But the acid reflux is hasn't been better, but I figure out some ways uh, to stop it for periods of time by eating bicarbonate or drinking it in water. That kind of resets the stomach, and also by chewing gum, because what I realized is because my doctor said that oh, you have to eat these pills because um you have too much stomach acid, and that's why your acid reflux doesn't work. And but it never got better. Of course, when I ate these pills every day, it was fine, but I didn't want to eat those pills my whole life. So I've read a lot about it, and saw some lectures on YouTube and stuff like that, and find out that it's actually not because of too much. Um, the acid reflux is not because too much stomach acid. It's actually because of too little So by eating more salt, it actually became a lot better, and I have less problems with it today. If I still get it sometimes in between meals, I I chew chewing gum because it it tells the body that, oh, there's coming, you're chewing, so there's coming food soon, and it starts producing more stomach acid. And that's a good way for me also, if I'm out riding or somewhere else and I can't get to some food, or get to drink some bicarbonate or something, then uh, bicarbonate, believe it's baking soda in English. So yeah, it works. It works wonders on the stomach. You burp a couple of times and then it's over. It's good for actually a lot of things. You should look it up on YouTube. There's a lot of good videos. It's actually being used for cleaning and health issues and a lot of other things. So that's definitely something that I've been using for the last couple of years, and it's working. So try that if you have some of the same issues. Uh, Sleep disturbance. Yeah, I don't, I have that in periods, but for me personally, that hasn't been such a big problem. Only when I'm stressed, if I'm not eating regularly, if I have too many things going on, and that is an issue. But having 2 or 3 chores a day, that could ruin my whole day actually sometimes if I don't have the energy for it. So it's very important for me that I don't have too many chores, and that I actually don't have too many things going on. If my whole calendar for the whole week is filled out with things, then I get stressed real easy, and I get a lot of problems with stomach, my memory, sleep, everything. But I know what to do. So for me, I just have to remember that this is how it is. I have to do these things, but sometimes you forget, or I forget, because everything is fine, and I want to do a lot of things with my friends, but what I want to do and what I can do is not the same thing. So sometimes I just forget that I actually have this condition. I actually have to take care of myself and do the things I know is good for me. I can't just do like everybody else, even if I want to. My body doesn't work like that. It's because of my upbringing and how I chose to live my life with bunch of alcohol and sweet sugar and bad food and stuff like that. I have ruined a lot of things in my body, and some of it I can fix, some of it I probably never will. But that's just life. I have to live with that. There's consequences for everything, and this is some of the consequences I have to live with. So um, challenging international, not international, in interpersonal relationship. Challenged interpersonal relationship. Yeah, and we were in on that a little earlier with trust. It's very hard trusting people, and that's the biggest issue for me in relationships. That's trust. I don't trust anyone. I hardly trust myself sometimes, so how can I trust others? But it's a lot of things I can do to. I work with my self envelopment. I read books. I try to meet new people, and I do meet a lot of new people, especially with the club, international club Corsa Nation, with this spiritual based club on the principles of the 12-step program. And as I said before, our members are former addicts and former gang members. And I meet a lot of people there, of course. But yeah, I'm still working on the trust part. It's really hard. And in my personal relationship with my girlfriend, it's also hard sometimes, especially because she also has some trauma. Of course, we all do. We all need to work with ourselves, but it's hard because that's a relationship where I have something to lose. So that's the hardest part. Friends come and go, and I can. This sounds harsh, maybe, but I can let go of friends that disappoint me just like that because I'm used to it, especially in my position as an international president in a motorcycle club or fellowship, as we call it. We're not a club, but that's that can feel a little cold, but because I'm in this position, I can never be totally close with members of the club because I am the boss. And I can never have that kind of relationship really, unless it's another president or another member in a high position in another country, because it gets hard. I seen Yellowstone. Most of you probably have. I've seen it a couple of times, and there's well, you can talk about a dysfunctional family there, much more than mine. But what I wanted to say was that there is a episode where they're holding a party in the barn, all the ones that are working on the farm. And Kevin Costner's son in the series, he says to the character Kevin Costner plays that they're holding a party, should we go down and join? And he says to his son, Kevin Costner says to his son, I never, what does he say exactly? He says, I never succeeded in being both a friend and a boss. Maybe you will have better luck. Something along those lines. And I think that's very true. And I was maybe a little naive when I started the club because I thought that, there you go, I said club again, the fellowship, because we were a club when we started, but now we're a fellowship. Long story. Back to the point. I thought when I started the fellowship that it would help me get my confidence and my belief in other people back, that I could start trusting people. But it actually did the opposite because, yeah, you know, people, they do stupid stuff sometimes, and when it's like your boss at the company, when an employee leaves or get fired, it's always the boss's fault, you know. So And I'm in the same position. It's always easier to blame me. It's always easier to blame the boss instead of taking responsibility for your own actions and actually seeing your part in whatever situation that happened. Excuse me. So that for me didn't work out as I planned, but I'm glad that I am in this position now so I can help other people with issues like I have. That was. There are some other things with PTSD, complex PTSD I have, and it's I I didn't. I think people with PTSD also have these things, but it didn't say anything on the internet when I was looking it up. And it's being in a fight and flight situation all the time when you're surrounded by other people. Um, when I go out and hold a lecture or just going out of town with my girlfriend or down to buy groceries even, I'm always aware of my surroundings. And it can be very tiring because I look at every people in the store. What are they doing? What are they talking about? Is anyone looking at me? Anyone I know? Anyone with bad intentions? Is there anything I can use to protect myself if a fight breaks out? Where do I get out? Is there more than one entrance? Is there a back door? All those kind of things is something I think about, and it goes just like natural. It's just a reflex. I do it, and I don't even notice it. It just happens. But I use a lot of energy on it because I'm like an antenna. I'm looking out for everything because everything is a potential danger, and that's tough. And I think it's at least it's my experience that a lot of people, other people I know that has PTSD or complex PTSD, they have these problems because their body and their unconscious mind is still at war. So they are still fighting because um, they haven't gotten through this trauma and this way of life or this episode or whatever they have in their past that triggered this. So it takes a long time for the body to realize that this is okay. When I was tortured, I had a helmet on when like I talked about earlier, when I was 16, and these three men, they put a helmet on me with duct tape around so I couldn't look out, and they beat me with clubs, and it took me a lot of years before I could actually put on a helmet. I got a lot of tickets from the police because I was riding without a helmet. That's the law in Denmark. You have to drive with a helmet. No excuse. So it took me a long time just driving with an open helmet, and then even longer to kind of press myself to have this helmet that was able to close down, and kind of force myself to have it closed sometimes when I was riding my bike. Not all the time, because my heart would start pumping, and I was starting sweating and stuff like that, because my body and my mind remembered what happened the last time I had a helmet on. But kind of forcing myself through this, I feel that I'm more and more I could have it closed, especially on the motorway, so I didn't have all the air in my face. So it was I was teaching myself that this is okay. Face your fears, in a way, and teaching my body that this is okay. This is not dangerous, because every time in the start I put on the helmet, it was like I was back in the barn, tied to the chair with that helmet on. I didn't want to be there, so I didn't want to ride with a helmet. But forcing myself, um, facing my fears, and uh, and actually doing it in spite of my fears, it helped me overcome that fear. So pushing myself and getting through it. But of course, that's just one part of it. There's still many things I have to work with, and some parts of my traumas or problems I mastered, and others are hanging a little in the breaks. But that's life. I'm never gonna be perfect, but I'm gonna do whatever I can to get rid of as much as possible of my trauma and my bad behavior, so I can be a better person for myself, my kids, and my girlfriend. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna work with every day for the rest of my life, trying to be a better version of myself, be a better person, be the person I needed when I was in trouble, when I was younger. So, yeah, that's just some thoughts from me about complex PTSD and my experience with having it, and how I overcome some of my fears and live with the traumas I had from my childhood, live with them today, and just trying to make the best of the cards I was dealt. So I hope it was useful for you. And remember, don't have a good day, have a great one. See you next time.